better make sure. I don't want to do this whole class and then. Yep. All right. Hello, my name is Amy and welcome to your mat. Welcome to your practice. Today I am filming from Lake Ouachita in Arkansas. So there are probably going to be some boats go by in the background. There's going to be some background noise here and there. Right now I got some waves coming from the last speedboat that came in. But today is a lot calmer than yesterday. Yesterday we had a lot of crazy wind going, and today the lake is super calm and nice and no wind. So I thought, let's get a class recorded. So today we're gonna do a little bit of yin, and we're also gonna do a little bit of work on some acupressure points. So you'll see what I'm talking about when we get into it. The only thing you're gonna need for today's class is either a myofascial release ball or something like that. So it could be like a tennis ball, something like a smaller, harder kind of ball. You don't want like a really soft ball, but something that's a little bit firmer. It doesn't have to be super firm. If you don't have that, you can do the class without it. I will give you some instructions for that. So in that vein, for this first pose, we're gonna do one with the ball under our foot. So if you don't have a ball, let me give you the modification for that right now. So we're gonna be rolling it over the sole of our foot. And the waves are really coming in from that last speedboat, so hopefully you can still hear me. So if you don't have a myofascial release ball or some sort of like tennis ball or, even maybe a dog toy ball or just something, if you don't have that, then you're just gonna use take a fist and you're just gonna roll it up and down on the sole of your foot. So it'll be a similar action if you don't have this. But if you do have this, go ahead and stand up with me. And if balance is an issue or you don't want to have to worry about your balance for this, then stand near a wall or maybe next to a counter or something that you can hang on to. So all you're gonna do is gonna put the ball on your mat, and we're just gonna roll it up and down the sole of our foot. I also have some geese here right off of camera here that you guys can't see, and they might end up in the film, who knows? You just never know what you're gonna get at the lake these days. So, or when you're outdoors in general. So all we're gonna do is just roll the ball up and down the sole of our foot to start. And again, if you find that this is causing a little more like it focuses on our balance too much, then go to a wall or go to something where you can hang on. And then the other thing you're gonna wanna do is, right now I'm going down the center of the sole of my foot, all the way from my toes, all the way to my heel, and just rolling it. There's no, exact thing you need to do here. But also you might find it's nice to go down the side. So move it over a little bit and go down here closer, like I'm going between my big toe and my heel. And then do the other side here. So do between your little toe and the heel. So you're kind of going really getting the whole part of your foot. This is just a great thing to do. You could do this every day, before, during your day, after your day, when you come home, whatever. It's just a great way to kind of release into that foot. So just really rolling all over that foot. So on each side, down the middle. And if you find a spot that you really need to kind of work into, stay there for a little bit. So we'll stay here for another few rounds before we go to the other foot. And again, if you don't have this and you're just using your fist, you're just really kind of getting in there. You're doing the same thing as the ball. You're just using your hand to do that instead. So, all right, we're gonna go ahead and switch. I'm gonna turn around here and you can stay face the way you are. And the same thing, you're gonna take that ball underneath of the sole of the foot and you're just gonna roll it back and forth. So all the way from your toes, all the way to the heel. Just giving a really nice roll here. And again, if you can go off to the side here. So I'm on the big toe side of my foot to my heel, and then the same thing, I'm going from the little toe side of my foot to the heel. So just all over, really to kind of release a bit here. And we'll go a few more rounds there. And then from there, go ahead and release. If you really like this, you can pause the video and do this longer. There's really no amount of time that's too long or too short, just whatever time you have for that. So you can always pause the video and come back. But otherwise, we're gonna come sit down and continue the class. And from here, we're gonna come into bound angle pose. So I'm gonna turn sideways here so you can see this. So you don't need this until later. And I'm gonna grab my phone here too. I can, with my notes. My phone is merely for my notes. So come into a bound angle. And again, this can be, it can be wider, it can be closer in. Really decide what works best for you in this pose today. Come slightly at a side here so you can kind of see everything. Because while we're in this pose, we're also gonna work through an acupressure point. And this is gonna be spleen 6. So I'm gonna go into a little bit about that spleen 6 here in a moment. But what we're gonna do is you could do both sides at the same time if you like. You may find that was a little more difficult to do. So I'm gonna just go with one side at a time, and we're gonna stay about a minute hold on each side. So you're just gonna take your 4 fingers here and find your inner ankle bone here and place those your little pinky finger will go up against that ankle bone. And then you'll find your shin and fall right off the shin. So at the top of these 4 fingers here, that's the point we're going for. Now, this doesn't have to be exact. We're just going for a point here. And if this is not something you want to do, you can completely skip this part. And if you're really feeling fancy and you want to try to do both at the same time, go for it. But I'm just going to do one. And you're really just kind of looking for a point. Maybe there's a little point there, a little spot, might be a little tender, and it may not be at all. That's possible. And then also from here, while you're holding this point, and again, you can skip the holding of the point if you want. And I have a goose that's getting really close. I don't know if you're going to be able to see him in the video, but he might get mad because he thinks I'm in his territory, but I was here first. Then you can also, sorry for that little interjection there, but then you can also fold forward while holding this point. So we're just going to hold this point for a little bit here, and I will talk you through a little bit of what about spleen 6, what this point is good for. So you can fold forward any amount while holding that point. If you don't want to do the point, then skip it. You can also just visualize that point. But spleen 6, I'm going to go to my notes here because it's just easier than trying to remember everything. This is really good for nourishing the yin energy in our body and also our blood, the blood flow, especially through the kidneys, the spleen, and the liver. So all of those organs get a nice, helps nourish that blood and the yin that flows through all of those organs. And again, this is all in the light of traditional Chinese medicine. So if you're trying to find the Western medicine equivalent, you may or may not find that. So we're just doing this more to work with our energies and the blood in the body. It is also 3 of the meridians, the kidney, spleen, and liver all converge in through here. It's also a really nice calming point. It is good for digestion, anxiety, insomnia, and so much more. So that's just a few things that this point is good for. We're going to go ahead and switch to the other side now. So same thing, 4 fingers together. Find your inner ankle bone. Place your pinky finger right against that inner ankle bone and then come up right above the top of those 4 fingers, fall right off the shin and find that little point there. So go ahead and press into that. You can roll around in circles with your finger if you like. You can just hold steady pressure, or you can just visualize or let all of that go. And once you kind of measure this out a few times, you actually could just do both points at the same time while folding forward. So we're going to continue to fold forward here, or you can stay more upright if you want to get a little break from that. So do what works for you here. But with these points, we are just kind of helping to open those channels, open that flow, because where the energy flows, or forget that analogy. That's not what I was going to go with anyway. See, there's a little mess up right there. Continue to hold that point. But what I was going to say, or what I was actually thinking and didn't come out right, is stagnation is the enemy of good health. So sometimes we can get some stagnation in some of these meridians, and we can start to have digestive issues. So you might think, well, how's this point affecting my digestion? And it's because these meridians run all the way up through the leg and all the way into the abdominal area and through those organs. So you have a way, although we can't physically, right now I'm not able to go in and actually massage my internal organs. This is a way to help affect some change to those organs. So this is a superficial way of getting into there, if that makes sense. And if not, you can let that go. Take another breath there. And then come on up. And now from here, we're going to bring our left leg out, and we're going to bend that right leg in. And we're going to come into another acupressure point here while also folding forward. Now, if you would rather not do a forward fold here, you could always do a little side bend while we're also doing the acupressure point. So really decide what works best for you. I like forward folds. They're nice and grounding and can be very reflective. But if you're looking for maybe a little bit more of the side body opening, then I highly suggest doing just a very gentle side bend here. So breathing here in and out through your nose. And then our next acupressure point is the large intestines, number 4, if you're interested in the actual points. And if not, you can let that go. But you're just going to take your thumb and your index finger, and in between the opposite hand, the webbing of the thumb and index finger, you're just going to press in there. So that's all I'm doing. I'm just giving a nice little press there. Again, you could do this from a side bend perspective. You could fold forward, or you could stay more upright. Now, when you fold forward, you're going to feel this more along this line of the leg. If you are more in the side bend, you're going to feel this more on the side. You might also feel it in the side there. So we're just going to press on that point for a moment here. And any of these points that you find, if they resonate with you and you'd like to come back to them, I highly recommend going back to them and holding for at least 2 minutes each side. I'm not going to do as long today, but to really get some affect some change, a couple of minutes at a time, maybe at least once, maybe twice a day, and do it for a few days. See how you notice. So this particular point helps to move chi and to calm the restless mind. And I think a lot of us could probably use some calming of our restless minds. So this is really good for that. It is also good at regulating anxiety. It is a fantastic point for headaches. I'm not going to say it's the magic bullet that's going to get rid of any headache you ever have, but just try it if you have a headache. It's also really nice for your immune system and for your allergies. And I am definitely noticing some allergy stuff going on right now because we're into the springtime, at least in the Northern Hemisphere. Let's go ahead and switch the leg here. Right leg out. And again, same options. You can fold forward any amount, stay more upright, or come into a side bend and get a little bit of that side body. And now we're going to do the opposite hand here. So same thing, just going to pinch in between the thumb and the index finger on the left hand, right there between that webbing of the fingers there. So yeah, if you are suffering from allergies, if you are suffering from, any immune booster you want, this is a great immune booster. It's great for headaches, anxiety, all of those things that I've just said. Or it's just great sometimes just to let that go and just have the visualization. So whatever works for you. I'm going to go ahead and keep folding forward because I'm feeling really tight here, and this is just really helping me to open up. But you pick what is best for you. So in all these classes, I'm really just trying to guide you. These are all suggestions. You can always adapt the class as you need for what your needs are for that day. Another inhale and exhale. Continue holding that point or visualizing holding that point. And now you're going to release that. We're going to come onto our back, and we're going to grab the ball for this. And we're going to work in what is called it's a bullseye point. It's actually gallbladder 30, but it's the bullseye right on the butt cheek there. So literally, if you had a bullseye on your butt, right there in the middle is what we're going to go for. And I'm using one ball today because I didn't want to have, you'd have to have two. So we're going to do one side at a time. It won't stay very long. So come onto your back. Lift your hips up enough to slide that ball underneath, right there on that bullseye point. If you don't have a ball, again, you could use your fist and kind of work in there a bit too. It may not be quite as effective, but you'll get a similar effect. So this could be a little tender for some people. So just find that point And if you want to roll around a little bit, you can, or you can just stay still. We're just going to stay on the one side for now. And I'm actually leaning my weight a little bit more onto that right side just to really get in there. But again, you may find this is too tender. And if it is, then back off and release the bit. And you can always just skip this if you don't want to do this. And you could just come into what I call constructive rest, which is just knees knocked in for a moment. So we're just going to be here for another few breaths. You can either roll it or just stay. I'm just going to stay still for right now. I highly recommend closing your eyes on this one. And then to switch sides, we're going to go ahead and just come all the way up into a nice bridge pose for just a moment. Releasing all that. And then take the ball in the left hand and do the same thing. Bring it right there into that bullseye. We're getting into our gallbladder 30. And I will explain some of the benefits of this in just a moment. I'm going to have to look at my notes again. There's a lot to learn and a lot to keep in your mind. And as you get older, it's harder to retain all that. So just breathe in, stay in this. Again, you could move around a bit if you like, find just the right spot. You could lean into it more on the left, or you could come out of it a bit with your eyes closed. And then go ahead and lift off, come into your bridge pose again. And then from here, go ahead and release down. Hug your knees into your chest. We're just going to do a short little supine twist to each side. So go ahead and do your supine twist. Bring your legs over to the right, left arm out to the left, and look over to the left. Or look straight up. I'm going to close my eyes because the sun is definitely right in my eyes today, but this was just the best lighting I could get for right now. And then go ahead and bring your knees into your chest and go ahead and drop them over to the left and bring your right arm out to the right and look over to your right. You go ahead and stay in that pose for a moment. I'll bring you up in just a moment. But while you're in that pose, finishing out the class here, give you a little rundown here of what the gallbladder 30 was for. So that bullseye point is good for moving the chi and blood of the whole body. So this is just a great one for all over. These are just nice little potent points that we can throw into our day. Go ahead and bring your knees back into center and go ahead and lie onto your mat into Savasana. Stretch all the way out and just release all that into the mat. So I find there's so many different tools that we have at our disposal, and sometimes we feel like we've got to be doing, we got to be spending all this time, we got to spend an hour working out, or and then there's nothing wrong with that. Exercise is good for us. The more we can move our body, the better. It's absolutely wonderful for us. But we can also add in these little tools. So while we're doing a pose, a yoga pose, we can hold some of these points. You can go to your spleen 6, four fingers width above your ankle bone. You could do your large intestines, number 4, the webbing between your fingers, the bullseye point, and there's a lot more, obviously. So these are just a few little tools that we have at our disposal. I highly encourage you to play around with them, experiment with them. And I'm going to leave you in Shavasana. You're welcome to come back to a seat if you like. Otherwise, just stay in Shavasana. But I thank you so much for taking the time to take care of yourself. And until next time. There's our geese.